Good morning, everyone. How are you? The last day. So, can you actually believe that you got on a train yesterday morning? You had a learning journey, we had an AGM, we talked about ethical investments, and then we finished with a peace declaration. I mean, all in a day. Fantastic that you could be with us. Today we've got all the Governing Board Forum folks here as well together, so we're all in one place, which I think is great, so we can hear some of the thoughts and ideas that are going to come up in this next session. Okay? Any questions? Anyone not ready to go? Okay, let's get underway. Okay. The GBF has actually identified communications and differentiation as a critical issue, and we're thankful for that because, and it's not only communication about the GABV, but it's also about how we communicate our differentiation in our banks. So this next session is really a way that we can aim to sharpen our understanding of what some of the different institutions are doing and the ways that they're thinking about how they can successfully apply their own market orientation and communication for advantage and for clarity and for, overcoming all the greenwashing and the carewashing that's happening. So I'd like to invite our panelists up. We have several here today. I'll start with Suzanne Hannestad. Please come and join the panel. Suzanne is on the board of directors of Triodos Bank, and she's responsible for audit and risk and the audit and risk committees, and she's been a board director for a number of financial institutions over the years. So she brings a lot of experience in that. We have Maria Pia Palacios, who's joining us here from Caja Arequipa. And many of us have fond remembrances of Caja Arequipa and being there in 2018. And she said, well, that's all my predecessors. That's what she said to me. She is the first female leader of a financial institution in 38 years. So quite something. Thank you. In her country. Yeah. We have Kate Assam. Where is Kate this morning? I don't see Kate. Maybe he will join us when he gets here. Maybe, Lucia, we can check and see where he is. That might be good. Okay. We have Damien Walsh. There's Damien. And Damien also has hosted the GABV annual meeting in Australia, and fond memories of that. He's the CEO of Bank Australia. He's taken his bank through brand changes, through building the bank to a national identity, and I think we have a lot to learn from you, Damien, as well. And we have Darren Williams. And Darren, as well, has over the years built a national profile for his bank, Southern Bank Corp, and brought a lot of innovative thoughts and ideas as the chief executive there. Okay, so when Kate comes, we'll just absorb him into the panel. It would be lovely to see him as well. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Suzanne. Actually, I'm going to take this chair while we wait for Kate. Yeah. So, Suzanne, let's start with you and the perspective that you want to bring. I'm going to ask them each to share their perspective, and then we're going to have a conversation about how we do this and then draw questions from you all. And what you want to be thinking about is, what is one thing that you are doing that really shifts the perception of your bank in the communities that you're serving, that really differentiates, really makes a distinction for the way in which you are able to make values-based banking live in your communities. So I want to focus on that, and I want to focus a little bit on the brand of the GABV as we get to that as well. So, Suzanne, please.
Thank you, Tom. Being a front-runner bank for 40 years, then you have some experiences being there. Thought leadership is a key thing. When I came into Triodos 3 years ago, I was amazed about the content that Triodos is having, also the sound content, and then it's to communicating that out. And there is where Triodos is stepping out big time as we speak now. And front running is, of course, based on the strategy that we are having, and we are constantly looking at the strategy, how we can step up further on the differentiations to keep up the front runner position. Of course, with the goals and change finance ambition, and that has been around for quite some time with Triodos. And then to have, of course, positive impact in society and ecology, that is a key element. With the strategy that we have been working on, we have kind of focusing on 5 transitions that we are working very extensively in all matters, both in the communication, the financials, and the follow-up with it. And the 5 transitions is, of course, energy, that has been around for some time, food, society, well-being, and resources. So everything we do, we have metrics for this.
Ah, Getty, come on. Join us here, please.
Welcome. One of our biggest target is net zero by 2035. And when you see around in the main street the banks, they are talking about 2050. So having 2035 as the main goal is a key thing. It's not easy. It's a lot of work to be done to reach out for that. And then we change finance. And we collaborate quite a lot with all the stakeholders, of course, DABV, various institutions that is close to us, and that has been a key element over the years, that the collaboration in all aspects to convey the message of what Triodos is thinking and meaning, and of course that is aligned with the DABV. Competition has increased dramatically over the last years. Tom, you mentioned the greenwashing and the carewashing and whatever, but this is a fact that we have to deal with. So Triodos is stepping up to make sure that we are a front runner, we are a thought leader, and of course we're using various examples to do so. We have communities, we of course utilizing variations of channels. One is having cholera money, so there we have quite a lot of articles about how to make impact over the years. Communities is a key element to be close to all our customers and members. And this summer we had a festival at our head office. It's a nice, beautiful area in Zeist that with a good area around it. So there we invited all of our customers to have, in particular the SMEs, to present their products and so forth. Transparency is a key element. Everything we do, we tell and report in all matters. So then customers, competitors, investors, and so forth, they can see what we are doing. And of course, we have regulations in Europe with the sustainability and the corporate sustainability to come up. So of course, the other banks, also the mainstream banks, they are utilizing this also. So again, we need to step up and make sure that we also communicate them. Back to the thought leadership, and there's various topics that we are bringing forward. Jeroen, he talked about fossil fuel, that is a treaty that we don't want to have fossil fuel as well, and has been speaking with quite a few banks about how we can go forward with that. I think that's a good cause to take forward. I'm coming from Norway, and you know Norway is a oil nation, so this is a dilemma that Norway is having at the moment. Deep sea mining is another topic that is going forward and communicating. And having all the COPs, as a COP in Glasgow, COP in Dubai, Triodos is always upfront telling what they are meaning and communicating and reacting and being proactive to every topic that's coming in there. We have a fantastic economist in Triodos, Hans Stegemann. He is a source for everything. He has a sharp pen. He writes a lot. He's, of course, the catalyst behind the 5 transition teams that we are working on. But my goodness, this is a man that we could replicate in all aspects going forward. Various campaigns that we are having all time. Deforestations or making wild is something that UK is so they, with their customers bought up land and then making sure the deforestation is coming back to what it was previously. Ending with how we can go forward. Of course, Triodos loves to be part of the GABV movement, and I think we can step up big time when it comes to communication and branding of the Global Alliance together. I see it in the strategy that is coming up, or it's a tool that wants to be done much more than it's doing today. And I really, really encourage that we work together and stepping out, both individually as a bank and together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Very good. I think it's very good to see that there's this focus on content, but there's this focus on campaigns as well. And I think that those elements of the campaign and the content come back to that as well. Also, sometimes what's not working. You've been through a CEO transition. In the meantime, you've had a change of the way you manage your shareholdings. And I'll hear a little bit later, but it would be good to know sort of how you navigate holding that brand power as you do that. It would be very, very good. So, Maria Pia, please share with us a little bit about Caja Arequipa. I think you all know where Caja Arequipa is. It's this beautiful city that's right in the middle of Peru, moving south, and you have all the challenges of water in the high plateau, as well as communities that are still in need. Tell us how you're thinking about your branding.
Thank you, Tom. As you know, we were born in Arequipa. Arequipa is in the south part of Peru. And my country, Peru, is a very centric one. Lima have 1/3 of the population of Peru. And the half of the production of Peru, the commerce of Peru, is in Lima. So if you're born in a province, you don't have voice in Peru. And the first challenge is to put your voice all over the country. And the voice of our clients. We are in microfinance. So we serve the poorest people of my country. And that kind of voice is not usually in the business newspapers. So for us, for our purpose, it's very, very important that our central message that we transform lives is in the front pages and in the front of the communication. But we have various numbers of challenges. First of all, we have to build trust, because we're born in a province and we are making financial inclusion. We are in microfinance, so we are kind of a second-class bank. We are not in a first league in Peru. So for us, it's very, very important. And in the few past years, we are trying to put our voice in the table. And the voice of microfinance and the voice of the poorest people in Peru. And we are having some things do good, because, for example, we have a rate of a reputational rate in Peru. And Caja Arequipa used to be like in a 150 position. In the last year, we scaled 30 positions, and now we are 31 in reputational scale in Peru. So, and competing with another industries. So, to be in the same spot of Microsoft is in the same league is so good. But returning to the challenges, we have to build trust because we need funding. And the funding is not in our clients of loans. The funding and in the richest people of Peru that lives in Lima. And I'm from a province. So I have to have two kinds of communication, but the two types of communications have to be tied with my purpose, tied with the things I want, the trust I want to build. So it's very hard for us. It's very, very hard to talk with the richest people and to talk with the poorest people. Alignment with an alignment with my purpose. So that is a big, big, big challenge. And what we are doing about that, we are putting the voice of the client first. In all the pieces that you see of Caja Arequipa, I invite you to visit our website, please, and you're going to see the stories. Because we want that our clients talk. And I think we are being very, very good in that. In the last year, the financial institution, commercial or not commercial, in Peru that grows more in savings, it was Caja Arequipa in 2023. That our message is getting in the people we want, they get our communication. So I have a video of one of our clients. This is a very common communicational piece that we always make in Peru because we want that our client is our voice. So please, if someone hear me.
Can we play the video? This is our big test.
Mi nombre es Víctor Raúl Flores Maita, tengo 36 años, este es mi emprendimiento, Agroavícola Dinos, Majes Pedregal. Bueno, Agroavícola Dinos nace en el 2019 en plena pandemia. Empezamos con 10 gallinitas, 20 gallinitas y llegamos a un tope de 50 gallinas. Le pusimos más empeño en las gallinas porque era un negocio del día. Y le fui a decir a mi hermana mayor, le dije, ¿sabes qué, Mar? Le digo, voy a empezar criando gallinas, ¿no? Y me dijo, ¿tanto has estudiado para que empieces a vender huevos a 10 céntimos? ¿no? Y mi sueño mío era siempre ser un emprendedor. Mi sueño mío siempre era ser mi propio jefe, mi sueño mío era tener mis propias cosas. Y me fui a una entidad financiera. Me pidió todos mis recibos, me pidió una serie de papeles que me decían, está listo, va a salir, tu préstamo va a salir. No salió al 1, no salió al 2, no salió al 3, no salió al cuarto día. Entonces ahí es donde yo voy a Caja Arequipa, y Caja Arequipa en 24, creo que el mismo día me dicen desde el bolso y empecé a comprar todo lo que necesitaba, ¿no? Para el emprendimiento. Mi familia toda la vida hemos sido agricultores, desde mis abuelos, mis padres, actualmente nosotros también cultivamos bastante. El tema del abono es una idea desde un inicio, porque siempre ha sido la idea del emprendimiento utilizar todo lo que tengamos. Desde la gallina hasta la producción de los huevos hasta el abono. Nosotros nos hemos dado cuenta que el abono sólido es un poco más complicado que para aplicarlo a las plantas, ¿no? Nosotros hacemos un proceso para volverlo líquido y aplicarlo de una manera directa. Siempre ha sido parte del negocio, del emprendimiento, el abono. Necesario aprovechar todo y obtener mayor ganancias y ser más sostenibles, ¿no? No depender de un solo producto. Nos ahorra bastante nos da buenos resultados. Aprovechar eso que viene el abono por añadidura ya, aliviar a los agricultores, ¿no? Un poco más el tema de lo económico y por un producto más orgánico, ¿no? Más ecológico, me hace sentir muy orgulloso. A todos los emprendedores les diría que lo sigan intentando, que si se caen una vez, que se levanten 1000 veces y que siempre, siempre luchen por hacer realidad sus sueños y no los sueños de otros, porque yo cuento con mi familia y con Caja Arequipa.
So we transform lives. This is your strapline, wonderful. And I think that's really helpful for us because I think many of our institutions have this facing funders side and this pulling out the stories of our communities. Beautifully, beautifully expressed. Thank you, Maria Pia. Kate, we're pleased to have you here as well and I introduced you a little bit earlier, but now Opportunity Bank Ghana, 9 years involved as the chair. Your reflections on the ways that your bank is communicating both to its communities and to the wider world. I know you're part of a larger network, and how you weave in the GABV brand as well in the work that you do.
Good morning and thank you. Good morning to my panelists and forgive my tardiness. The tea was getting good to me in the restaurant, so thank you for having me. As Tom said, Opportunity Savings and Loans in Ghana is part of a network of several opportunity partners across the globe. We have a central global operation that operates out of Chicago. So we raise, unlike several of our institutions that raise, that own foundations or that own not-for-profits, we're the opposite. We're owned by a not-for-profit. We have, in Chicago, we're a nonprofit institution. And people make contributions to it. We raise money from the US, from Canada, from the UK, Germany, Australia. And then that not-for-profit owns 23 banks across the globe. In South America, in Africa, in Eastern Europe, and in India and the Far East. So we kind of flip the script upside down. Now, how we communicate our brand. About 10 years ago, we had a new CEO. And what we did was we embarked on the rebranding exercise.
They want to put your mic a little closer to you. Yeah.
Like that?
Yes, perfect.
I thought if I put it too close to my mouth, it'd be in my mouth. Anyway, so we had a new CEO, and we embarked on a rebranding exercise. We changed our logo. We got our colors changed. And the one thing about Opportunity that I need to put on the table is that we're a Christian institution. And we're unapologetic about the fact that we are Christian. Every Monday and every Friday morning at 7:45, across the globe, all Opportunity institutions get together and we have a prayer session. across the globe. Everybody is praying. We say a prayer. We recite our mission. And we are undergirded by the values of Christ. And those values run through the organization. So throughout, there is never an employee, a board member, a person who comes into the institution that is not aware of who we are and what we are about. Now, why is that important? It is important because it tells our story. C stands for, and I gotta read this, C stands for commitment, H for humility, R for responsibility, I for integrity, S for stewardship, and T for transformation. And we tell the story of the fact that we are in the business of transforming lives. And all of our clients know about it. They know who we are. They come to us knowing that we're a Christian institution. But we don't only deal with Christian clients. We also have Muslim clients. And for the first time, and we have non-religious clients. And for the first time, OISL, Opportunity Savings and Loan in Ghana, has a Muslim woman on the board. And Atul, our CEO, was like, Kate, you're a bold man, you know. But it meant something to us, the fact that we serve a large Muslim population, and the optics are important. The fact that when we go to the north of Ghana, the northern part of Ghana particularly, where there are where the majority is a majority Muslim community, it's important that the people see Hajia and know that she is a part of an opportunity as well. I am personally blessed with the advantage of being able to speak several languages in Ghana. Ghana has several languages. And so as chairman, when I get introduced to in Accra, I'm able to speak the native language. When I go to Kumasi, I'm able to speak the native language. When I go to other places within the country, I speak the native language. So on the ground, we are able to connect to people on their level. And in this business, we understand and we know that you start from where the client is. You don't come to the table telling them what you're going to do for them. If we're in the business of transforming lives, then what we have to be about is understand what the client's needs are. In all of our banking structures, and in Ghana we have 38 branches, and we have another 50 or so outlets that we work with. And in all of those outlets, all of those places where we operate, we have our values as an institution front and center. It sets a tone. And I think if I were to make a recommendation to GABV, the one recommendation I would make is that we do not have to run away from what our values are. We have to clearly define what our values are as an organization and state them very clearly. And each of our member institutions have to, if you say that you're a member of GABV, this is what it means in terms of values. And this is where we stand. And this is what our values are. That sets a tone. When somebody walks into your institution, they know who you are. And we communicate that in everything that we do. communique that goes out of the CEO's office, every communique that goes out from me as board chair or any of our board members have that value proposition set straightforward in that communication. The other side is that, of course, like many of you, we have an Office of Communications. And that office is tasked with the responsibility of making sure that all of our messages are clearly defined at the level of the client. It's nice to speak big words and to use language that people don't understand. But if you're going to if you're going to be in the business of transforming lives, then it is the lives of the clients that you're transforming and not your own life. Now, the byproduct of all of this is that in doing all of this, our lives get transformed. I think I'm a better Christian today for having been a part of Opportunity. But that's because every Monday and every Friday, we do this dancing. You come in the bank and we're dancing and we're having a good time. It's a soul session going on. I have become a better Christian for being a part of Opportunity. And I think generally that's how we communicate our difference. Fortunately, having a person like Kwame, and Vlado is also here, who's a part of our, he's CEO of our Serbia Bank, are much better communicators of our messages than I could ever be. But the other thing that we do is that we select the best people to do this job. And the people who do the job also matter. And I have to say that I would put Kwame and Vlado against any commercial banker anywhere in the world. They are exceptional bankers, they're exceptional communicators, and all of that makes a difference in, how we balance the profits against our value proposition. And having joined GABV in recent years, we're also able to say, as part of our communications, that in everything that goes out, that we are a GABV bank.
Thank you, Kate. Now I'm going to go all the way. Should we start with Darian? So, Darren Williams, thank you very much, CEO of Southern Bank Corp. And I just have to say, personally, I've been astounded to see your growth and your ambition, and as we heard a little bit earlier. And tell us how you are able to communicate that.
So, Tom, thank you for the question, and great to be with everyone on this last day of a fantastic annual convening. Kudos to Bank Etica for your gracious hosting. So Southern Bank Corp was founded as a mission-focused bank some almost 40 years ago. And when I joined 11 years ago this month, it was already doing great work. But the one thing that we did, I think, that has been successful is we really spent time to have alignment with our purpose throughout the organization. So when I got there, let me give you a little context first about who we are, because I think this is important, because when you think of U.S., often you think of New York or D.C. or California. So we work in some of the most rural places in Arkansas and Mississippi, the Delta region. We're in communities with less than 800 people in the whole city. 1/3 of our branches are in counties that have less than 25,000 people. 78% of our branches are in counties with less than 25,000 people. So we serve communities that are underserved, that are small, and 1/3 of our branches are in what's called persistent poor counties. And that means that that 20% of the county has lived below the federal poverty level for 30 years. So this is deep-seated and systemic poverty that we work in. And so that gives you some context, because often when folks who are not from the U.S. come to our markets, they're a little surprised that you have this level of poverty and this level of really isolated communities in a place like the United States. But that's where we operate. But we have always been a mission-focused bank, intentionally located in those types of communities to help them thrive. But what was clear, we've grown through acquisition, is that while all these banks, all these institutions that we've purchased had real missions, they were not aligned. Everyone had kind of a different mission. So when I came aboard in 2013, the board gave us real time to develop a strategy, a growth strategy. And so we spent 2.5 years focused internally on our branding. We wanted to make sure that the message that we were given externally was consistent when a customer came in to get service. Right now, so many financial institutions have taken the mantra of being a mission-focused bank. It's hard to, because of greenwashing, it's hard to, for marketing to determine which one truly is a real mission-focused bank, really focused on everyone. So it was important for us that when you came into our branches or when you met us publicly in an outreach session, that it was not just a marketing ploy, but it was truly who we are. And so we spent a lot of time really focused internally to make sure everyone understood why we existed. And we often quote famous British author and lecturer Simon Sinek. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. He says that most businesses know what they do. Even some know how they do it, their unique value proposition. But those that are most successful know why they do the work that we do. So we focused our time, and we always start with why. That's a slide you see at the beginning of every one of our meetings. We start with why. Our why is we are wealth builders for everyone. We believe that wealth building isn't just for the wealthy, it's for everyone. And the focus is on everyone. And so for us, every employee is a wealth builder. And they understand that. And we drill that into them repeatedly because it's important. And that really means we had to start with our culture. I believe that culture trumps strategy. If your team has the right culture, you'll develop a winning strategy. And so we spent a lot of time and continue to spend a lot of time really focused on culture and on our values. GABV is a real significant part of that, because as our leadership team really worked to create alignment, we had to make sure that folks who were operating in these very small communities in rural Arkansas and rural Mississippi understood that the work they did locally had an impact globally. And I challenged them that we could change the world. No, I'm not sure I knew what I was talking about when I did that. But now, when I go back and talk about the work that we all do collectively as members of the GABV, they see how the work they do locally in their communities of 800 people connects with a broader community around the world. And so the GABV is a consistent and real part of how we brand ourselves. You'll see it in our cards, you'll see it on our website, you'll see it in all of our promotional materials, because it is important that we live those values. And just a little about the success we've seen by really focusing first on culture. You go back from 2013 to fast forward today. In 2013, we were about $1.1 billion in assets. Today, we're $2.6 billion in assets. In 2017, when we really restructured our capital structure, the first stock we sold was at $8.40 a share. Today, it's selling at $14.50 a share, 56% increase. And we can go on and on and on about things that you've seen that have improved. But the one thing that I'm really probably most proud of is how culture has been woven in the organization, and how people understand that they are wealth builders and they are there to really build communities and change lives. And we actually measured that this year. We hired a company called McLean & Company to measure the engagement of our team, really, again, focusing internally. And McLean's survey is really not a employee satisfaction survey, it's an engagement survey, because engaged employees are motivated, they're dedicated, they go the extra mile. A satisfied employee looks at what's in it for them. An engaged employee is really much more engaged in their work, but also the work of the company. And really proud of this. So you're probably familiar with the concept of a Net Promoter Score, and we do that annually. Our Net Promoter Score this year hit 80%, which is world class. which we're excited about. But we also, McLean also does an employee net promoter score. What are your employees? How likely are your employees to recommend your company as a world-class place to work? Our net promoter score was 39 points above benchmark. And the number one driver, they'll tell you the drivers, the number one driver of our net promoter score was culture. Our culture scores were 15 points higher than benchmark. And the thing that was really also exciting is the employees believe, understand, and are proud of where we're going as a company because we communicate that. And one question was asked, what do you think about the company's potential? Our score was 17 points above benchmark. And since my board chairman is in here, I want to make sure I highlight this one. Executive leadership was 27 points higher than benchmark. But really, I think the credit goes to the team. Nothing happens because of John O'Lamy or myself. It happens because of the team that we work on. But this real focus on our brand being more than marketing, but being who we are and why we exist has been real important. So if I had any advice, make sure that what you say matches what you do.
Fantastic, Darren. It's this internal-external alignment and the ability to have cultural aspects really embedded in the story, again, both internally and externally, and that clear definition of values that you can then translate into all your propositions and the ways that you're able to then measure it. And it's the first that's come up, but we all need to be able to do that. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, and now you're ready, Damien Walsh from Bank Australia.
Thanks, Tom. I'd like to just draw on a couple of themes from what we've heard this morning in terms of explaining our story, which is a little bit different from our colleagues here. Maria spoke about being impactful and understanding where they want to play in the market and the role of thought leadership in terms of the fantastic work that Triodos does. Darren spoke around culture and also being a really authentic brand. And I think that that's been really valuable in terms of how they've built the brand in the communities where they've operated. We heard from Maria about bringing customer voices through in terms of how you develop your brand and express your brand, but the importance of trust in banking, and I think that that's really valuable. These are all themes that we can take forward, but also Kate spoke about clarity of purpose and value and mission, and that clarity is really powerful in terms of how you build a brand. So I'm drawing on those themes because all of these organisations were founded with a purpose, and our story is slightly different. So over 67 years, we've had over 70 mergers of credit unions coming together, and our original purpose, which was around affordable access to banking services, primarily credit, was not a competitive advantage, was not a driving force. We weren't dealing with human needs in the communities where we were operating. So through that process, we've pivoted as a business and focused on the themes that you've heard this morning, but created a brand, rebranded, and taken a unique position in the Australian market around driving impact in areas of social justice, environmental justice, and using our customers' money to deploy in areas where we can be impactful. And the thing that I wanted to share out of that process and that journey, it was a collaboration between the board and management. Yesterday we heard the CEO of a bank in Norway describe the banking system as a kilo of rice in one hand, but her bank in the other hand was 1 or 2 grains of rice. And that's how I think, if I describe our business 10 years ago, that's exactly what it was like, 2 grains of rice. And being ambitious, or setting that ambition as a business 10 years ago and building a national brand with that clarity around purpose and values and areas where you'll be impactful in terms of social justice, environmental justice, has seen the organisation grow more than threefold, our client base grow by more than 60%, to be one of the most trusted brands in the Australian market. Independent research, not commissioned by us, We're in the top 40, but we're the youngest brand in the market in terms of most trusted brands. And as you know, trust is critical to banking. And I think for us, what was really helpful that as we were building a national brand and taking a position in the marketplace, we were attracting a younger demographic. We were attracting our target market of socially aware consumers. We were becoming more confident as a business. And as you take positions, which some might see as quite extreme in terms of social and environmental justice issues, you invite criticism. And you need to be confident that the fact that the things that you're doing, addressing human needs, having impact, triple bottom line in people, planet and prosperity, that where you are criticised, that you actually accept that criticism, but you're an authentic brand and you're speaking on behalf of your clients, your customers or your members in trying to address the issues that are important to them. And I think for us, that's been how we've been able to build a brand, staying true to our customers, understanding what's important to them, amplifying their voice in the community and being really confident and proud about who we are in terms of driving a unique value proposition, not just around the value of banking, but also our values as an organisation. And that's part of being a member of the Global Alliance for Banking on Values.
Thank you, Damien. Beautiful. Remarkable success in growing your brand. Fantastic. I'm just wondering, I'd like to start out sometimes by saying, what have you heard from your colleagues on the panel that you would like to comment on? What's something that strikes you as something important that you might want to either adopt in your own banks or that you're already doing?
Okay. If I had thought that we had the opportunity to share videos, I would have brought a video as well. Because, you know, one of the things we do in our board meetings is that every board meeting begins with a client story. We tell our transformation, which is a department within the bank, is the first department to present their reports. What is the impact story? Because at the end of the day, we would tell the financial story. Kwame will come in and talk about the staff that he wants to fire or not fire, the staff he wants to keep, and all of that kind of stuff. But the important thing is how many lives did we transform in the quarter? What is the impact that we had on Miss Brown down the street? And I think I learned from you that impact, that individual story. And while we're doing it, I think I want to do it more. I want to do more of it.
I might add that.
Could we get a mic? What's your number? 4. Number 4, mic, please. Yeah, thanks.
Is it on? Kate, I appreciate you saying that because that's exactly what we do. We start every board meeting with a customer story, and we allow the team member, one of the 500 plus employees around the organization who don't get regular interaction with the board, to come and tell that story. And because we never want to forget that the reason we do this is not about the profit, but it's about the purpose, and it's profits from purpose. And so we do the exact same thing. But one thing that Damien said that has been real important and allowed us to create this alignment was how well we work with our board. Our board gave us 2.5 years to spend time focused internally before we had this external message. So since we have the governing board forum in here, we bring in speakers and people to talk to the board and to staff from time to time. And we brought in former Comptroller of the Currency in the United States, Gene Ludwig, one of who has been just fantastic about really serving underserved people, one of the driving forces behind the Community Reinvestment Act in the United States. And we brought him in to talk to our board about the board's role and how the board can do better. The number one thing he said is the board should hire a great CEO and support the leadership team. And I must say, not just because I've got board members here, but that's been so important to provide us the time and the patience. As now, as we've had this plan to double in size in the next 5 years, we continue to say that investments precede return. So we are investing significantly in people, but our board's giving us the time to see the return, and they believe and support the management team. And so that's so very important, the partnership between board and the leadership team.
Thank you, Deb. Other reflections on what you're hearing from your panelists?
Echo having the customer stories. That's absolutely fantastic. So this is something I will bring back to our board, taking that forward, because that's where it starts.
Sure. Go ahead, Mia Pri.
Hello. Maybe one thing is important for the boards, that we have the mission to be the speakers. And we have to put the stories of our clients in other tables of discussion. And this is our job. One thing we are making a lot in Caja Arequipa is to participate in every panel about financial inclusion, about how to put people out of poverty, about gender inclusion. We are participating a lot because, for example, when they want to talk about financial inclusion 2 or 3 years ago, they asked in Peru the first commercial bank to talk about financial inclusion. For example, we have the monetary fund mission we're having now in Peru, and for the first time they invited us to talk about microfinance. And the person that is chief of the mission said, "Oh, I don't have any idea about that. This is the first time we're talking about microfinance." And microfinance in Peru moves 80% of the economy, and nobody's talking about us. So it's important for members of the board that you are the speakers. It's your job. You have to put the things that matter to you in discussion.
Into those other discussions, into that, to be the voice. And I hear you're being a voice for your clients as well. And I like Darren's point that you're actually inviting your employees to be the voice for their clients as well. Damien, I know one of the things you've done, and I always love to bring this up, is also because you focus so much on indigenous rights and on sense of place, you have a ritual that you also do in your bank. Your sense of place.
Yeah, so I'm number one, yeah, got that. So I'm from Naarm. Naarm is the place name in Melbourne, Australia. We open all of our meetings by recognising that we're meeting on the lands of First Nations people. So we would typically open a meeting in Naarm, in Melbourne, by recognising that we're meeting on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. But if we're meeting in different parts of the country, we would reference the First Nations people in those areas. And I think that's really important because it's one of our core themes. We've got 4 impact areas. One's First Nations inclusion. We also focus on climate and affordable housing, social housing, and I think the First Nations piece is really important because, to Darren's point, this is a very marginalised area of Australian community, and one where there's deep-seated, intractable challenges, and it requires concentrated effort over a long period of time. So I think when people think of Australia, they often think of a wealthy country and not necessarily communities that live in poverty.
And I've noticed that the First Nations story has traveled through the GABV as well. I know our folks at Vancity in Canada also open all of their meetings in that way, and many others as well. But I think this is, again, authentic expression of our impact and the values that we have. Yeah. Suzanne, you.
When we are opening our meetings, we are 2 tiers. So we have the executive board and we have the supervisory board. And then to have the values in front of us, we have 2 statutes. So we got that from the previous supervisory board. They said keep those because it's bringing in keeping on with the values. And the mission, and the collaboration between the executive board and the supervisory board. So I think that's a good start of a meeting.
And I know Triodos has its Monday morning gatherings as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is an important part. So this way in which we keep communicating and keep circulating our values is really, really important. Suzanne, since I have you, talking a little bit about transition of leadership and how you, I know some of your communications have been challenging in the last period as you build a new investor group, and I'm just wondering if you can talk about how the values weave in and out of that conversation, because sometimes people want to take us off course, and they want to talk about how do I get my money out of my bank, and
That's been on the table for the supervisory board quite a lot to it when you change the mechanism for the deposit holders and the transition for them. So what we have done is to compartmentalize it. So yes, there are some activists that want to talk only about money, not about the value and everything else that Triodos is doing. So then the supervisory board has been very keen on making sure that the positive stories, the impact stories, the sustainability is coming out. So keeping on and stepping up, I would say, on the impact stories and all the good content that is coming out of Triodos and Hope helping to it. So that's one story, and then having lots of meetings with the DR holders to make sure that they are happy. And we were always talking about the silent believers and encouraging them to step up in the communication with the others that are having some issues with the transition of the investment.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. For all of you, being a part of the GABV in various ways, and Kate, I love to just say GABV everywhere. What are your thoughts about what more we could do as a GABV? You know, we want to change finance change, to step up with our own brand, the brand of the GABV in relation to your banks and institutions. Any thoughts about that? Kate, you're pulling the mic up, so.
You know, we got cups in the gift bags that we received, I think, yesterday. I would have liked to have gotten a T-shirt that said GABV.
To be the brand.
To be the brand. I mean, you got to start where you are. You know, coffee cup is on the inside. It's something that you use inside. A T-shirt you can wear outside. So if our idea or the question for us is to brand ourselves to the world, I want somebody to ask me what GABV means. And I want to have the opportunity to tell them. But I would prefer that I would have gotten a T-shirt or something that said, I'm not trying to, Peter, I'm not trying to create too much cost for GABV or any of that. So that's not where I'm going. But you understand what I'm saying. If I wore a T-shirt that said GABV and I walked outside in the summertime, somebody will ask me, what does GABV mean, Martin? Okay. And I'll be able to tell them.
So Chief Marketing Officer for the GABV, I see it in your future. Yeah, thank you, yeah.
I think that all of us have to be JABV speakers. I think that in all our presentations, in panels and all over the world, we can talk about JABV, and we have to.
And what difference does that make for you if you do that, being Cara Arequipa?
We call that in Spanish, necesito la chapita. This is a star for us. So we need to put a brand of JABV like a star, like a thing all banks want to have, but they don't have it, okay? Because the commercial banks, the big banks in Peru, maybe in all over the world, they're trying to have that kind of stars. They are trying to giving themselves things that they are not. For example, the first commercial bank in Peru, they say that they are sustainable and they are not sustainable, okay? So for us, a little caja in Peru needs big brothers, needs good alliances that help us to step up and to appropriate the things that are ours and not are for commercial banks.
Beautiful, yeah.
Thank you.
We are more than 70 banks that are from all the continents to it. We need to step up the communication and be more visible, I think. We have so much good value, and we need to educate, I would say, the rest of the financial service, inclusive the federal banks around in the world. We have the knowledge, we have the experience, we have done it for so many years throughout this room, and work together. Yes, of course, it's going to be individual for each of the banks, but if you have a voice, a common voice, communication voice, I think we will score so much about it. So the content is there, is to communicate in various channels in all aspects. Absolutely, like you're saying that we can be individual ambassadors to it. But I think there's so much I would say noise, communication, and information out there. So we really need to step about the loud noise that is out there. So I think it's a matter of focus and a matter of collaboration to make sure that we get and we will. Also with all the, also that can be the World Bank and all the others institutions that are out there, that we are at the table when we speak. Yes, we are at the COP and part of those discussions as well. But we need to educate the financial services.
Thank you very much, Darren. Yeah.
4? Yeah. And Tom, I want to make sure that you tell Martin I didn't ask you to ask this question.
Okay.
Because all of my GABV board members know I've been saying this repeatedly now for several years. We have such a good message, but not enough people know about us. And we have to be very intentional about a marketing strategy to make sure our message is heard. At Southern, we've done this tremendously. Last year, we got 78 earned media stories in publications across the United States. 19 were national publications. So that means it also went international in many places. We didn't pay a dime for that, but we were in focus on it. My communications team, at least twice, sometimes 3 times per month, I speak to a national or sometimes regional reporter on background, not because they're writing a story, not because I'm asking them a story, just on background. So they get to know me, get to know my bank, and oftentimes I talk about the GABV. Inevitably, when something happens, that reporter remembers me. Not writing a story about Southern, calls and asks me about interest rates or asks me about something in the financial space because they want to know how does this impact the marginalized communities? How does this impact a rural community? We need a brand marketing strategy. We need marketing standards. For example, I tell you, GABV is on everything we have, but it ought to be consistent on our website. It ought to be consistent on our cards. It's got to have consistency in messaging. So we need the standards. But then we need talking points. Each one of the CEOs needs a GABV talking point. How we talk about it matters. You've got to tell people things 7 times for them to hear it. So we need consistent talking points so we're all saying the same thing. And then each one of us in our own communities should spend some time on background with reporters, just once a month. Find a financial services reporter and connect about your organization and about GABV. I promise you, if you do that, when they're writing a story about financial services space, they will eventually call you. Again, last year we had 78 earned media stories, 19 in national publications like Wall Street, New York Times. Didn't cost us a dime. It cost time, but it didn't cost us. We could not pay for a story in the Wall Street Journal. We can't afford to do it. We just don't have that kind of marketing budget.
Thanks. David, you're fine? Okay, good. We have a question? Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say we have a couple minutes for a question. Here's microphone 7.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for your inspiring stories. Well, I'm Sonia Felipe. I'm the head of communications and marketing in the DABB. So, of course, I have interest in all of these. And I wanted to make some remarks or some questions or some petitions, everything at the same time. One is that I've been hearing from you that you are using the stories from your customers and putting voice to them, which is great, of course. And in the case of the DABB, the Secretariat, the customers, kind of, and the voices of the customers are your voices as banks. And we need your stories of transformations, because from the DABB Secretariat as a network, we are very far from your customers' stories, from your impact. So you are like in the middle, and these are the kind of stories that we want to know, to get from you, how you are making, offering services, products, transforming yourselves in order to transform banking and in order to transform lives. So this is one thing. The other thing is that we had the Marcoms meeting, in-person meeting in Padua, and there are some things that I think is interesting to share here. For some of them, in general, there was this intention to do things and to do things together, and this, of course, we are a movement. Let's work together. But at the same time, for some of them, there was this. I don't know, lack of clarity about how to do this, and how much of a burden is to communicate about the DABB, because they have their own, I mean, your banks, you have your own brand, your own business goals, your own communications goals, so how to communicate the DABB for some of them could be seen as, a new thing to do, a burden. And listening to you is like, yes, of course, it's not like that. It's not a burden, it's an opportunity. It's an invitation, and it has to do in everything we do. Yeah, all of you have already shared so. So my invitation is that maybe you also share this vision with the comms people, and they don't feel that, well, something else on my table, but wow, yes, an opportunity to differentiate myself, my bank, from the rest. And there was something else, and I finished. So my last thing is that I realized that I need to insist once and again about what is happening on the DABB, and that I make sure that they receive all the information. Yes. Sorry, it came to my head. One petition also was that they could have, if they could have the information, some relevant information at the same time as you have, for example, like the peace declaration. If they could have this peace declaration at the same time or just right after, you have this information. And the petition was not only to me, like of course I take the responsibility of sharing information to them, but also from you. If you, the CEOs, could share the relevant information from the DABB to them in order to collaboratively communicate more the movement.
Thank you, Sonia. And she has a staff of thousands. No, it's not true. It's her. So just to know. Okay, Ken, one more question, and then we'll wrap up the session. Gonna get the mic to Ken, number 7. Thank you, Sonia.
It's a real easy. Is it on?
Yeah.
It's a real easy, quick one. Darren, on your PR, those are really impressive numbers, and we really work on the PR thing. I'd like to know more how you do it. Do you have an outside firm? Do you have internal, person? Because we have an outside firm that I've used for 15 years. We pay them $80,000 a year, and I'm always frustrated. So I'm just wondering how you do it.
So, Ken, we have both. So we have a marketing communications team led by Nathan Pittman, who does an outstanding job. But we also have a New York-based media consultant. We pay $10,000 a month. And he has my entire schedule. Whenever I travel to any state in the United States, he's connecting me with media. He sets up a lot of this for me. He works with my scheduler and puts these in on our schedule. But we couldn't, the amount that we pay him pales in one article in the Wall Street Journal pays for itself. So he's been fantastic. So it's been both internal and external. He's good. He's good.
So I just want to thank our panel very much, first of all. But before we end, we've been in the news overnight. So I think it's worth it. Dario Anafasano from Banca Etica said, be sure to show you what happened in the media because of yesterday's declaration. Do we have those slides ready to put up? Okay, so here's what happened. We're not all able to read Italian, but have a look. So, fantastic. I want to thank our panelists in this way. I think one of the things that's important about this meeting is not that we get all the facts and the details, and Ken reminded me of that just as he was saying, but that there's processes, there's elements of each of these stories that can be drilled down and worked on, and it takes those coffee conversations, those saying, I'm going to call you, these bilateral meetings. You know, we live on the bilateral meetings, we live because we share in our boards. We also live as a community when we come together once a year like this. But once a year is not enough as we do this because we've got a lot of impact stories. I heard today tremendous, real, honest content that the world needs to know about, and bringing a voice to that content, either our voices or the voice of those who are not being heard. Building a narrative in a world of competing narratives is so essential. That how do we find that crystal clear voice that comes out as something really unique, collectively and individually, because we are all living in our own parts of the world. And then sustaining those relationships on whatever level those are, because the ability to not break relationships, but to foster and grow and develop relationships is really unique to our banks. So thank you all so much for that, and thanks for joining in.